तशरीफ रखो. Okay, you're Rida Zahra.
Yes, sir.
That is a unique name. Let's start with you telling the panel the meaning of your name.
Sir, Rida means dupatta or chadar, something you cover yourself with, and Zahra is Hazrat Fatma Zahra. So my name in entirety means Hazrat Fatma Zahra ki chadar.
MashaAllah. It's a beautiful name. And according to your CV form, you are the first lady to have qualified the CSS from your area.
Yes.
You deserve congratulations. That, I think, is a big achievement. All right, shall we start formally?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us something about the NFC award and how do you relate it to the 18th Amendment passed in May 2010?
Yes, sir. Sir, the National Financial Commission Award, so far, 7 of these awards have been passed since 1947, and these awards are basically it divides the shares of provinces in the federal divisible pool. Now it has changed significantly after the 18th Amendment because more financial share has been given to the provinces after the 18th Amendment. After the 18th Amendment, initially the criteria was just population, and on that basis the shares were divided in the provinces. But after the 18th Amendment, the criterion has been changed to inverse population density as well as poverty, which has increased the share of other provinces such as Balochistan and NWFT. For example, sir, the share of Balochistan in the current NFC, the 7th NFC award, has been increased to 9%, which was previously far less.
Okay, thank you. In June 1984, the Indira Gandhi government in India launched an operation against the Sikhs in Amritsar, and scores of Sikhs worshippers in the Golden Temple were massacred. What was that operation? Can you fill us with some details on it?
Yes, sir. Sir, its code name was Operation Blue Star, and it was a military operation conducted in the Punjab state of India. In it, thousands of Sikhs were massacred mercilessly without any warning in the temple while they were praying. The hindsight of this operation was that one of the Khalistani leader, Jarnail Singh, was they were trying to arrest him, and in the process, millions were killed in the way. In the Operation Blue Star, they came to Punjab, and the military operation was conducted, and there was a lot of civil servants, 6 civil servants, as well as several Sikhs in the military resigned after the operation, and a lot of the people returned their civil and military awards as a protest to the Operation Blue Star.
Okay, let me ask you a related question. What is the Khalistan movement?
The Khalistan movement is a movement for separation of Sikhs from India to have their own autonomous region in which they can practice their faith in autonomy and separately and freely. And this was recently seen as well in the farmers' protest as well, where the needs and wants of the farmers of the Punjab was not given a favor, or was not considered by the Indian government, where they came to the streets and came to Delhi, and they were also very brutally attacked by the police in Delhi as well. So that is also an extension of the Khalistan movement, where the Sikhs of India are being marginalized in India.
Suppose the Khalistan, hypothetically speaking, the Khalistan movement succeeds. Which is the area that will become an independent Sikh state?
Sir, if I am correct, I think it has to be the Punjab state, which is close to the Lahore, across the border. Sorry, sir, I cannot recall the name of the city right now.
Never mind. Okay, let's move on and come to your optional subjects, because each one of us is going to ask you 4 or 5 questions, right? You have studied international relations. Can you tell us what was the Balfour Declaration?
Yes, sir. Sir, the Balfour Declaration was a declaration which was given by the Britain government in 1917, in which it was unilaterally declared that the Jewish people will have a separate homeland in Palestine, which was then a part of the Ottoman Empire, and in which Jewish people were in minority at the time, but it was unilaterally decided that in it will be a separate homeland for the Jewish people, which created this conflict which is still killing thousands of people in the Palestinian area as well. That was basically originated from the Balfour Declaration.
Okay. You have studied gender studies also. Who is Malala Yousafzai? I need a succinct answer.
Sir, Malala Yousafzai was a girl who was brutally shot, and her only crime was that she was speaking in favor of girls and their education in her hometown, Sawat. She used to write a blog in the BBC in which she talked about women and how important is their education. She was shot in the face by the Taliban, and since then she has been advocating women education on international forums and elsewhere.
Good. Okay, last question from my side relating to US history. What is the Monroe Doctrine?
Yes, sir. So Monroe Doctrine was given by James Monroe, and it is called a foreign model policy, model foreign policy. A lot of US presidents have used it over time. So it has three main points. So it was given in the early 1900s, in which the USA was just getting established. So in the Monroe Doctrine, the first point was that European powers will not colonize the New World. The second point was that US will not intervene in European quarrels unless countries' rights were endangered. And third, that Europe will not intervene in independent states in the Americas or the New World. So this Monroe Doctrine was later also used by Roosevelt for Panama Canal, as well as used by I'm sorry, sir, there was a president, I cannot recall his name, he used it to block Cuba, Russia and Cuba. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, never mind. Thank you. Over to you.
I was just going through your biodata. You have placed Foreign Service at number 2.
Yes.
Suppose you are selected in Foreign Service. And what measures would you highlight to attract the tourists?
Sir, firstly, it is essential that for tourists we need to create a safe environment where they feel welcomed. And in that capacity, what needs to be done is we need to regulate our tourism sector. Whether it is a transport system, whether it is the hotels, it needs to be regulated and it needs to be licensed, so the tourists know what to expect and they are answerable to the people or the government. Currently, there is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to tourism because there aren't a lot of reliable tourist organizations. The second is the ease in the visa process. So just like Gilgit-Baltistan, you need a separate entry permit to enter in Gilgit-Baltistan. That can create hassle for some tourists, and therefore it need to be a one-window visa system where it is easier for the tourists to just come in and they do not have to go through a lengthy process.
Okay. You have studied international relations. Tell us something about the Treaty of Versailles.
Yes. So the Treaty of Versailles was, it was in 1919, and it is a very important treaty because it was between Germany and the Allied forces, and it ended the World War I. But it is also a treaty of importance because it is said to be an instigator for World War II as well, because there were a lot of conditions that were very humiliating for Germany, as it is said, such as the war guilt was entirely put on Germany. Germany was made to pay reparations to other countries, as well as it was forced to return a lot of land to France, Sweden and other countries. And it is said that Hitler used these terms to instigate a sense of nationalism that further led to World War II.
Where this treaty was signed?
So it was signed in Versailles. It's a city in France, close to Paris.
Okay. Can you tell us something about strain theory?
Yes, sir. Sir, Excuse me. Sir, strain theory was given by Robert K. Merton. It's a theory in criminology that states that every person has certain aspirations, every person has certain goals in life. And when they can't achieve that through legitimate means, they often resort to illegitimate ways to achieve those goals. And in it, Robert K. Merton gave 5 different scenarios. So he said that if a person is accepting both the goals and the ways of achieving those goals, then he is conforming to the standards. And if he is rejecting both the goals and ways, then he is doing rebellion. There are 3 other instances as well, such as innovation, ritualism, and retreatism.
Okay. Pakistan is facing major problem, that is higher growth rate of population. And as a result, all the development is being eroded by that higher development. China has managed to curtail or control this higher growth rate of population. What was that? Can you explain about it?
Yes, sir. China adopted a one-child policy in which they were incentivizing the parents who decide to only have one child. And due to these incentives and due to the awareness that was created by the government in China, people started opting and people started getting more and more aware. And they started having lesser kids, and I think that is what is lacking in Pakistan as well. The first step is the lack of awareness in Pakistan, specifically in the rural settings where people do not realize and recognize the need, how it is going to strain their resources, and there also is a need to address the religious views of people which are distorted in a way that that needs to be addressed as well.
Okay, you have also studied American history. Tell us something about purchase of Louisiana.
Yes, sir. So the Louisiana Purchase was done in 1803 by Thomas Jefferson, and it was done. It doubled the size of United States of America from the original 13 colonies. It was done for 15 million from France, who at that time was being controlled by Napoleon after he became the first consul in 1799. Thomas Jefferson made this purchase because he believed in the power of yeoman farmers, and he said that it is important that every person in the United States needs to have a land to become self-sufficient.
Any other area which America purchased? Can you tell us something about that?
Yes, sir. Sir, Alaska was also purchased from Russia. If I'm not wrong, sir, if you will allow me to take a guess, I think it was for 15 million.
Okay. United Nations General Assembly. Any Pakistani has been the president of that assembly?
Yes, sir. Our first foreign minister, Chaudhry Zafrullah, was not only the president of United Nations General Assembly, but also was the president of the International Court of Justice. So from 61 to 62, he was the president of United Nations General Assembly, and from 71 to 73, he was the president of International Court of Justice.
Okay, just one last question. What's the difference
between direct and indirect taxes?
Yes. Sir, direct taxes are which are paid by the people directly to the government, such as an income tax or an agriculture tax. However, indirect taxes are the ones that are transferable. For example, the GST or the custom tax, where you are paying to another party who then further pay to the government.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let me start from the history of Indo-Pak. My first question to you is that how important do you think is Mughal king Aurangzeb in the history of India and Pakistan?
Yes, sir. Mughal king Aurangzeb Alamgir is of utmost importance because he was different from the first 5 emperors in a way that he lived a life of piety and simplicity as opposed to the previous one. Another thing that is important about Aurangzeb Alamgir is he was the last of the great Mughal emperors. After his demise, the Mughal empire fell into a decay. He also issued a Fatwa-e-Alamgiri, which were codes in which he established a Sharia law across. He was also responsible for extending the Islam in the subcontinent further in his rule.
For how long did he rule?
Sir, would you allow me to take a guess? Sir, 30 years perhaps?
49 years. He was the longest serving